Hey guys, this is Jaren. We've been planning to start this podcast for quite a while, and sadly, when we finally have everything ready and we're ready to record, it happens to be only a few days after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So that's what we should talk about first. Now, I'm very much on the left in US politics, so Charlie Kirk has never been my favorite figure. However, I've also never been in favor of political violence in any form, and that definitely also means a personal political assassination, whether it's coming from the right, whether it's coming from the left. It's not okay. It will destabilize the country, and we cannot be celebrating this act. That said, I know that it can be hard to separate emotions from policy in a time like this. There are many people on the left that I've seen who have been construed as celebrating this death when they say things like uh, Charlie Kirk was a Second Amendment supporter who has said in the past that Second Amendment rights come with inherent risks. There will be deaths associated, and that's like an acceptable cost in his own eyes. When people point that out, it can be seen as some sort of apologia for this assassination of Charlie Kirk. And in some cases, that's probably is how it functions. But we shouldn't use Kirk's own rhetoric to support the kind of political violence that he and everyone else can and should be against. That being said, we should not be lionizing or creating some sort of false legacy of a man who has supported absolutely uh, heinous political violence all throughout his political career. So, what am I talking about when I say political violence? It's not just when one person with a gun goes in and, for example, as a recent example, shoots a Minnesota legislator in her own home and kills her husband and kills her dog. That's not the only type of political violence that exists in the world. Police in almost every single city having access to military grade and, in fact, former military equipment, military weapons, all sorts of things like that, and then using it on US civilians, that's political violence too. That's something that Charlie Kirk supports. He's espoused many anti-democratic sentiments in the past. He thinks that we should be a Christian nation. He thinks that the death penalty should be allowed. The death penalty is another form of political violence. It's actually state-sanctioned murder, or at least that's how I frame it. And he's been an avid supporter of things like that. So we shouldn't go around and say things about a man who has supported political violence, acting like he was some sort of person who was doing everything completely correctly, or performing politics correctly, as Ezra Klein might say, because he wasn't. At least in terms of a liberal, and I'm using that in the political science sense, a liberal democratic country cannot accept rhetoric that people like Charlie Kirk espouse. He wanted to basically dismantle our democracy. He wanted to bring to bear state violence against his own political opponents, and that's not okay, and that should not be defended just because the man himself is now dead. I wish he was still here so that people could say these things to his face, which, to his credit, what I will say is something that he would have supported and did support. He goes out, he has conversations with people. I don't think they're usually fair conversations. I think the aspect of media trained people such as Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, all those people, going to college campuses and debating college students who are just starting to learn about the political world and all these things. It's not a great look, and it's not the kind of political discussion that I would usually want to have. But still, he went, he had these conversations. He was not afraid for people to tell him to his face, you know, your Christian nationalist views are absolutely wrong. Your anti democratic views are absolutely wrong. Uh, you could say these things with him. And that is really what the project of the liberal democratic society that we're trying to build in this world would be about to an extent. Um, Again, we shouldn't take it so far as to say, oh, it is good or it doesn't matter when people use their rhetoric to directly contradict, contravene, and try to dismantle the exact democratic values and protections that have led to such a free speech society where figures like Charlie Kirk, um, and other figures on the left and right can go out, espouse their political views, have disagreements, and for the most part, up until recent years, not face this sort of violence for it. Um, you know, in essence, these aren't things that people like Charlie Kirk, people on the right, well, specifically big name, big wig pundits on the right, their ideas do lead us away from this. But we're still there, and we still can be there, and we still should be there, where we can have these conversations, where people who are perhaps against democratic values can be spoken to about it and don't get shot about it. So it's a tragedy what happened. And it's a tragedy what's happening now because of it. When activists on any side say, oh, now this is war, now we must make the other side pay, now they're going to get what's coming to them. This is the opposite of the direction that we should be headed. It brings more heat into the situation. It brings more instability into the situation. And it will, if this rhetoric continues as it is, it will end up bringing about more instances of this kind of violence. It won't be conscionable whenever it happens, but I think we're learning all of the wrong lessons from such heinous and public and disturbing public assassination. I watched the video. I didn't want to watch the video, but as soon as I heard it had happened, I went online. I was looking through the stories. This was, mere minutes after it happened. And I saw the super high definition close up footage. It really affected me. It scared me. I'm still very frightened that this would happen so publicly, but I'm also frightened that people on the left, people on the right, people all across any sort of political spectrum are going to be learning the wrong lessons from this. And I think we need to all sit back with ourselves and think things through and figure out how we can continue existing in a world where we disagree but don't resort to violence. So, once again, this was a tragedy. This should not have happened. This should not happen anymore to anyone on either side of the political aisle. But we should also be honest and upfront about the actual legacy left behind by Charlie Kirk. Uh, we should be honest about how people in power are behaving, and we should move forward in a more sane direction and prevent things like this from happening again. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Uh, if you think I missed something about Charlie Kirk, if you think I'm being too friendly, not friendly enough, just let me know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. And yeah, kind of sucks that this will be the first thing that I ever make for this show, but things happen when they happen, and here we are. Thank you so much.